Alrighty, I am here with Sam, and we are doing the round 3/4 confessional for Ascendance 10. So first of all, Sam, let's talk about Live Night. How were things on your end? Kind of go through Live Night from your perspective.
All right. So live night, I was very pleasantly surprised with like my performance in the comps. I'm not used to like doing so well, and it was kind of to the point of, well, just two puzzles that like were super in my wheelhouse. And I actually knew how to do, but like I had Tower of Hanoi done so quickly that I sat back and waited for a few people to post theirs because I was like, oh no, I don't want to like come off like looking too strong in comps. But anyways, didn't end up winning that trendsetter, which ended up fine anyways, because by the end of it all, I think the people that I cared most about in this game were safe anyways. And even though I did well, it still kind of feels nicer to just not win it and have that extra like maybe set of eyes on me because I'm like winning a lot of things. And so, yeah, my team ended up winning. Antoinette pulled out the win for the click challenge. And so we kind of just got to sit back while the other two teams like did their eliminations. It was pretty straightforward and like the result at the end of it. I had figured that the team that Alex was on, like Alex Jester, were probably in trouble. But that kind of started a lot of the conversation for the following round, revolving around Jeremy and like, you know, the one story of, oh, my hands were tied. I didn't want to vote in the minority, so that's why we did Alex. But a lot of people are thinking, there was just a lot more willingness to want to make that happen and see that happen. And so that's been a topic of conversation. And then Shannon going on the other click was pretty expected, so nothing too crazy there. Um, yeah, live night was good for me. I got to chill once like the main craziness was over.
That's always good. That's always good. Yes, live nights can be very stressful. Glad that you were not stressed. Anyway, so the next challenge, I believe, was the posting challenge, right?
Yes.
Okay, I did not read the description of the posting challenge, but from what I heard, you did it and you won it. Um,
Yes.
so you were in charge of splitting a captain, right? You were a trendsetter for the round and
Mm-hmm.
were in charge of choosing teams. What was the decision making? Was there any strategy behind the people that you chose for your squad?
Yeah, so we had called, as in me, Antoinette, and Sandy had called like just beforehand to kind of like work out what we'd want to do, like in a few different types of scenarios. It was in our chat with Zach. And so he kind of gave us some feedback, like, as we were like typing stuff in there. But we never really fully settled on anything, so it was still kind of a mess. So going into picking, I ended up going with, I picked Jester. I put Jester and Dre on the same team because knowing that they were going for each other, and I do have that alliance with Jackson and Dre. So, I think for me, the picks were just kind of all about optics, where my true loyalties lie. Like none of those people were on my team, which like, and like everyone's on the same page about it. So like that was great. I tell Jester, hey, look, I put Dre on the team in case we lose, that's our option. And then I tell Dre and Jackson, I put Jester on the team. If we lose, that's our option. A bit of feedback I got from, I think both Jeff and Jeremy were like, ooh, spicy picks. And I don't know, like, I guess a lot of people were maybe just a little bit more surprised. And so what I would tell those people is like, you know what? They have a thing going on. If we lose, it's their opportunity to deal with it. And it's straightforward enough that if it's a single elimination, you know, they can duke it out, whatever, duke it out. So that was like what went into my picks. And then I picked Jeff just because we, like, our game relationship is Not like super like extensive or strong. Like we're not like constantly talking game or whatever, but he is somebody that we we jive well together. So, and we haven't been on, I don't believe we've gone to a vote together before. We're never on the same team. So I put him on as an opportunity to just open the door to talk more game with Jeff. Yeah.
Perfect. So it turns out, it's going to be a joint elimination. You guys are told it's a joint. The bottom two teams are going. I guess your team won, right? So the other two teams are going, but you are attending this elimination. You're immune because you are a trendsetter. So kind of talk through what do you want to happen tonight, and then what do you think will happen tonight?
Um, so I've been, um, I guess like what the talk has been today, what is, well, starting with last night at the end of the Zoom call, like after like results had been read, there was talk of Seamus, Delaney, or who was the other name that they had said? Slade. So I believe like Jeremy, Nick, were at the core of that conversation, and I don't know who else was all there, but that basically started off the Delaney train that I think we all expected anyways. And then today, I had heard that Nick was saying Delaney's name, so just kind of a repeat of what's been happening every round of like the least active person's name gets brought up, and then they throw out another name, and then it just kind of becomes like those two people versus each other. Ultimately, with the vote landing on the least active person, and I really feel like it's about time we stop doing that. And I really want to set like me and my allies up in the best position possible moving forward. And I believe that person would be Jeremy, targeting them. And it's just because Jeremy, Nick, Marcelo, I believe that there's probably something going on there. And that Jeremy's probably the most capable player of the three. And with them being vulnerable right now, it just almost seems like a really good opportunity to like snipe somebody like really good whose loyalties ultimately don't lie with like me and my people. So that's what I've been doing today. I don't usually have like a preference like on a vote. More often than not, I'm kind of happy to go with like the majority or go with what people want. And I think, a lot of people I've talked to are on board with like trying to split that up. And the early conversations were more so leaning towards Nick. I think Nick may have like rubbed a few people the wrong way with just how like they're approaching I guess almost just like gossiping, talking about other people while they're not on calls, kind of stuff. I haven't been there for any of it myself, but I always kind of get like the story afterwards. And it often sounds similar. People are just like, not the biggest fan of like that aspect. But I've been trying to get into people's ears, just pointing out how much more dangerous Jeremy could be. And also that, I believe maybe one of them or their allies have a power. So how I'm approaching this vote is we need to keep this quiet to not tip anybody off. So I have been more comfortable talking with people that I, don't really owe me anything, could sell me out to be like, Sam's really pushing this. But I'm trying to like lay it on thick with like, there's a power out there. We have to be careful. So hopefully it doesn't come crashing back down on me. But to actually answer the second part of your question, I do think we can make it happen. Ooh, pending any powers, I guess, because Slade is on board, Taisha's on board, me, Zach, Sandy, Antoinette was kind of on the fence, wanting more. Nick to go over Jeremy, but I think if everyone else is kind of on board, I don't see why she wouldn't be as well. And Seamus, I don't know if I said Seamus, but we have the numbers with everyone I've talked to so far, so I think that's what's going to happen.
So you mentioned in that last response, you said keeping me and my people safe. Who are your people? Who would you say are the people that you are most closely aligned with?
Um, okay, so I say my people. Ultimately, it's just my person. My person is Sandy, and I would I would do just about anything that I needed to do to try to protect Sandy if it came to that. Everyone else after that, that's kind of always how I tend to play these games is I find my person, I literally tell them everything, and just have that like open communication. And I do plan on staying loyal to Sandy for as long and as far as I can. Um, Even if that's all the way to the end and then we figure it out at that point. But anyways, but I'd say like secondary to that right now, like Zach and Antoinette, I'm just like a paranoid crackhead. So like literally like every little thing that happens, I'm like, oh, I don't even know if I could trust them. Because Zach went to talk to Antoinette about something that we kind of had in the works, but that we hadn't like discussed first. And so I was kind of like sus about that. And then like whatever. So yeah. But when talking about like my people specifically, like for that, it is the oh, what's the name of our chats? Glorious Space Chilies, best name ever. Those would be like, yeah, my people right now, and um, yeah.
So I caught the either middle portion or the end of the phone call with the Chili's, Space Chili's, um, and
I love
and
that you have to say that.
I love it too. So the Space Chili's, we're talking, kind of going over the options. You kind of covered that, but you left that conversation and you immediately said in your prod chat something along the lines of, you were frustrated with Antoinette, it seemed like.
Hmm.
So talk about that. Talk about the frustration, basically what you were picking up on in the call.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we both had differing opinions and we both really wanted like our opinion to be like heard. And so I think it was just a lot of like reiterating the same thing over and over again. And I was like getting frustrated with like why like to me it's obvious like what the move is and like what the bigger threat is, and so it was just frustrating not being able to kind of come on like onto the same page and like in regards to it. And it I guess it kind of just made me wonder, if maybe there's maybe something a little bit more going on there. But I decided like after I had sent that in like 2 minutes, I was like, you know what, it's not that big a deal. I feel like I just decided to focus like my efforts and energy elsewhere, and then if the rest of it comes together, then she'll come on board. Instead of trying to get her to come on board while trying to make other people come on board. And you know, I get it because I too also have a better relationship slash open communication more with Jeremy than I do with Nick. And I believe it's like the same situation for her. And so to leave somebody in the game that you don't really talk to, versus somebody that you do, like the devil you know versus the one you don't, I don't know, whatever that saying is. So um, I'm less frustrated now, and seeing it from her perspective, I guess I could kind of understand. And regardless, I still want to make happen what I want to see happen. We'll see.
What do you think you have to do to make what you want to happen, basically?
Um, at this point, if my read is like correct, I think it's just reconfirming with all of those people that I've talked to. So Slade, Seamus, Taisha, and they each individually basically told me like, yes, I'm down. I would do that. Just want to have other conversations to make sure that like, other people are on board. And like I'm in. And with each of those people, it was basically like, all right, I'm going to go have those conversations too, knowing like most of those conversations I've already had, but like whatever, keeping up appearances. And so it's just a matter of checking back in with them. And if nothing's changed, then I don't think there's much more to do beyond that. Just kind of stay on top of things because you never know. Things can change really rather quickly in like the last hour.
So besides, you can't answer this question with yourself. So besides yourself, who do you think is in the best position right now to win the game?
Um, hmm. That's a good question. I would say, um, okay, so it's between two people, and I would say I'm going to say Taisha, and that's because I think just about everybody like adores her, and I just don't see anybody coming for her anytime soon, like at all. And so if she's able to kind of like maintain what she's doing now, I could see her like making a deep run, and then like from there, I just think, yeah, nobody's really looking at her. The other person I was like contemplating saying is maybe Sandy. And I guess it's kind of just like an extension of myself. Um, I feel like I'm doing okay. There's little things here and there that I'm just like, I need to be careful to mitigate my threat level. It seems to be something I struggle with just because I am so social, and people will like realize pretty quickly like I'm good with a lot of people, whatever. Um, but if I kind of continue to do like I guess as well as I think I'm doing, it'll be hilarious if I'm like not, and I'll laugh at myself later. But because I have Sandy by my side, and I don't think we're going to be turning on each other, is the vibe I'm getting. As byproduct of that, I think Sandy has a good shot to make it far to the end, and then who knows, maybe I piss off people and Sandy wins instead of me.
So with those two answers, it seems like you are intending on working with Sandy long term. Is that the same thing with Taisha? Would you consider her somebody that you would work with long term, or is that somebody that um, on the opposite end is somebody that threatens you?
um, She doesn't threaten me at all right now. And I think it would just be a matter of, yeah. I wouldn't want to go like deep into the game with her. I do believe like ultimately like her loyalties like were like started with other people. Like I do know she's in something with Sandy and Seamus and Slade. And she's the one who started the chat. So like obviously like she has other stuff going on, and I feel like we could be like good allies to each other to a certain extent, but like I don't really want to be like sitting anywhere near the end with her. Um, so I would turn eventually if the opportunity presented itself on Taisha, but not on Sandy, I don't think.
So say everything goes the way that you want in tonight's vote. Jeremy is the person that leaves.
Mhm.
However, it ends up happening. What is the plan for you next round? Is Trendsetter something that you're going to go for in the next round? And if so, do you have a plan for the next round?
Mhm. Um, I So if Jeremy goes this round, I think it leaves like Dre and Jester. I don't think that the focus has gone off of that, but I don't know. I think it would be easy enough to kind of stir that back up and have that as a focus. And then Nick, like they've been like making some waves, and so that's still like something that's out there. And then Delaney being like potentially the least connected person. So with the Jeremy vote, my thinking for how I how I think it's the best move for setting us up for the future is that it leaves lots of other options and lots of other things to talk about. So there isn't going to be anything new to latch onto unless like somebody does something. But that's why I ultimately think Jeremy's like the best option for me to go right now because nobody is talking about them right now. But I still think they're dangerous, and all the conversations around the vote just tend to carry over to the next round if that person wasn't voted out. When it comes to trendsetter, I imagine I would still go for it. I think it'll highly depend, like if how the vote goes and how the fallout from the vote goes. If it's drama and like people are like, oh shit, what actually happened, and like whatever, then absolutely I'm 100% going for it. I think, if everything goes super smoothly, I am waiting for that opportunity to feel like, okay, I can sit back and like not try in this one. I kind of have to wait and see what the vibe is after to know like whether or not I'm going to actually really go for it, but I can't imagine I won't.
Okay, my last question for you, Sam, is give me a percentage, and the percentage is how confident do you think what you want to happen is going to happen tonight?
Um, I'm gonna say 85%.
Okay. Sam, is there anything else that you want to say for your confessional that we haven't talked on? Or are you okay with me stopping this recording here?
One last thing I want to mention. Basically, a half pendant fell from the sky, and I told Sandy about it. And then the next day, a half pendant fell from the sky for him, and then he told me about it. So between the two of us, we have a pendant, and very excited about that. Very excited. We're both safe this round. So not even a thought of like having to use it to save ourselves. We haven't told anybody else. We're kind of keeping that in our back pocket. Something we definitely consider like willing to share down the road with the right people. But for now, we've chosen to just stay quiet about it. And it's nice to have that extra little piece of insurance. Of course, only if you see something coming, but I'm really happy that it literally took less than 12 hours to find the second half. It was very convenient.
Any guesses on how they magically fell from the sky?
So my first guess before knowing that Sandy had a half as well was before Erin went, I ended up having like a really good call. It was my first call with Erin, was like her campaigning, but it was a really good call. And I was just basically like honest and upfront saying like where I was coming from, like, listen, I do have a relationship with Alex. I don't really want to vote Alex, but I also don't want to vote you, but you're the only other name. And so, basically that's the way that I think things are going. And she just asked from me if before the vote, like just give me a heads up. And so I did. And before the vote was read, and like reading how like the powers are, like if you have it on you and you're voted out, you have to announce it publicly. So I was like, you know what, maybe Erin got something. And because I like was nice and gave her a heads up before things were official, she kind of messaged her project, be like, transfer this over, whatever. But then Sandy got one as well, and we're thinking we were the two, like, I think in the lead for like the posting challenge, and maybe we just hit like a benchmark or something that was like predetermined, and like we found it that way. So that's my other theory, is had something to do with that challenge, because we can't think of literally any other reason that we would have it.
I have no idea.
Yeah, sure.
But all right, Sam, is there anything else besides that you want to mention?
No, I think that's everything. I'm just having a lot of fun, and whatever happens, like obviously I want to do well, and I want to keep going, and I want to keep playing. But like, regardless of what happens from here on out, I've had a great experience, and I want to obviously see it keep going. But I'm having fun. That's everything.